Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to a new deck profile. I went to two regionals this weekend, bubbled one, got second on the other one, which was a larger one, I think. I don't remember exactly. But Saturday I went to Ghent, played Swordsoul. Sunday I went to Zoetermeer, which is my hometown, which I played the sort of the same deck. I made some changes. We'll talk about those. But yeah, I got second at that one, and I will showcase the deck for that specific event. I'll go through it real quick because I uploaded a Swordsoul deck profile that's very similar to this one. But in the top left, you can see my matchups. As you can see, there were 86 players. I was on Tenyi Swordsoul. I got second place with a 6-1 record, my only loss being round 6 versus Brave Prankets, which was Raphael Naven. I drew mediocre game 3. He drew the God Hand. But yeah, as you can see, round 1 was Despia Thunder Dragon, which was a real good way to start the event. I could just combo and it was just all good. It was the first die roll I won. Then from round 2 to round 5 I lost every die roll, but I won every match, which were 3 Brave Prank matchups. Yeah, it was just very unlucky. And D-Link as well, I should not have won that game. He forgot Tone Collector in Grave, and I was like, okay. It was like 30 seconds left, and it was such a weird game, but he eventually just forgot one effect and gave me the win, which was kind of free. Raphael I lost, and then the final round was another Brave deck, which was Red Rose. But yeah, the matchups were good. I didn't expect that many Prankets, to be honest, but there were, I think, 9 Prankets players, and I played around against 4 of them, because most of the good players played Prankets. But I was the only Swordsoul player who was at like the top 10 tables, I think. There was no one else really playing this deck that was doing well. So I was, very fortunate. I drew pretty good the whole tournament. I drew like both siding. My hands were kind of okay, and I got fortunate by my opponents just not like my Prankets opponents just didn't draw a kit, for example. So I just played against DPE Brave Control a couple of times, where I played Fleur Control a couple of times as well. So yeah, let's just get straight into the deck profile because it's very standard. So for Sword we have triple Emergence, double Ecclesia, double Taya, and then triple Moye, triple Longwan, and the Blackout, which is necessary. So these ratios are yoinked and twisted, I guess, from the topping deck list from the Luxury Gaming crew, and also I took a lot of inspiration from Walter Jewell topping, I think it was Guadalajara. I don't know if I said it correctly, but it's a tough name. But I think triple Moya, triple Long One is very standard. I was on 2 Ecclesia, 1 Taya for a bit, but the second Taya came up a lot and I wanted to put Desires in my deck. So just having access to 2 is just super free for follow-up play, and just opening the card when you can already play. It's just really, really strong to just have it. And double Ecclesia, you never really want to open like too many normal summons, even though I play 7, which is a lot. Ecclesia is like very bad to open with Moye. So I decided to eventually just cut down on the Ecclesias and still put in the second Taya to have enough names at least to get away with it. Then for the Tenyis, I was on Vessel for this tournament. So I played 3 Vessel, 3 Ashuna, 3 Vishuddha, and 3 Adhara. I never missed anything else. I played Circle on Saturday. I played 2 Vessel, 2 Tactics, which are also in the deck list, and 2 Circle with 2 Adhara and 1 of the Water Tenyi, which is something that I liked to play a lot. I'll get rid of the glare, give me a second. Yeah, the glare should be gone. But I liked Circle, but it didn't really come up at all for the intention that it had. Like, it's good going second most of the time because you can dodge DPEs and you can dodge Masquerades, and it really added a lot, but I felt like Vessel and playing 3 Tactics and 3 Vessel was just way better. And I also didn't like the fact that I just opened the Water Tenyi at all. It's like Despot in that sense. Since the Circle line and the Water Tenyi come up maybe 1 in 20 games, where drawing them is like 1 in 8 games. So it's, I don't know, I didn't want to play the bricks, and I just wanted to play the most consistent way of getting Chao Feng on the field. Or just being able to play with just the Tenyis, because the Tenyis themselves get you Chao Feng, or get you Xishao plus Longwon, which was kind of insane. So yeah, I don't think 3 Adhara is necessary. This could have been anything else, but I just had the space to play 3, and I wanted to play as many Tenyis as possible because the Tenyis put in so much work breaking fields going second. So then for spells, it's Desires, 3 triple tactics, droplets, and call by. So I think these 4 cards, the droplets and the call by, are like the god cards of the format right now. They just hard win against anything going second. And this deck already has a very strong going second with the Tenyis, of course, and just long one itself. Where droplet it's very strong with DPE because you just negate the DPE and then bounce with Dexia. It's very strong against Masquerade because that's the same thing. You just bounce it with Dexia. So that's where this deck really gets a lot of value from the droplet. Where call by is, of course, in the standard sense, a good way to play around hand traps. But it's also insane versus Despia because you just target their tragedy that they target with Brandon in red. Get rid of them, make them not resolve it. I felt like call by, every time I drew it, it's just broken. So this card should not even be legal. Tactics was insane. I used it a couple times to just bait Ash. Because they, like a lot of my opponents, the Prankit players, they sent like Banshee. Or they had Banshee, some reason, I don't know why. So they did like Banshee and Zombie Roll shenanigans. Or they did something in my main phase. Like for example, they hard one player like waited with Bow Wow and activated in my main phase. So then I could just, okay, now tactics, draw 2, he Ashed, and I could resolve my emergence to go off from there. So tactics was very strong. I think it's a very strong card this format as well, because against Despia, for example, you just bait one effect, which most often is a hand trap. Tactics to take, you force Masquerade, and then you can just play. So I feel like tactics, just being the bait that it is, because if tactics resolves, you basically win the game. So I felt like it was a quite good card to just put at 3. So I played it at 2 in Gent, and the only time I drew it was against Tetsim, who didn't play hand traps. So it was like I was going first, and I had just 2 tactics in my hand, which was kind of awkward. But every other game that I even saw it, like drew it from Moye once, I think, it's just a god card in that sense. So I just wanted to play as much valuable cards as I could. So that's why like Tactics and Vessel were in the game, because they're just all like insane if you resolve them. So then I played 6 hand traps, which were Ash and Imperm. I feel like hand traps are kind of weak right now. And Ash is also getting worse, since a lot of the Despia players that do not know what they're doing are like relying on the Branded Fusion. And that's where Ash is really the MVP against like the bad Despia players, but you don't want to prepare for bad players. So for example, I played against Tetsim, and he had like a standard Despia hand, but it was good enough to play around Ash. So he did like the field spell stuff, and I just couldn't Ash him, so the Ash was just dead at all times. It's also very bad in the mirror match, in the Swordsoul mirror. Ash just sucks. But I did want to play Imperm because it's a good draw for a 6th card. It's insane in combination with Droplet. It's also very strong versus the Lubellion. The Lubellion, I don't even know how the fuck to say the name. So I feel like Imperm, it didn't really perform. It performed okay. It was fine. I saw it quite a lot, and I just used it to like negate a DP or bait something out. I think it was my round 7 against a Brave Red Rose player where he did like Fleur, set a couple cards, pass, and I just like negated the Fleur. He negated it, so my tactics was live. So it was... I got very blessed by people just clicking buttons most of the time, where they enable my tactics. So that's for the main deck, 40 cards. Didn't miss anything, if I'm gonna be honest. So for the extra, it's triple monk, 1 shaman. This card never came up. The 3rd monk also really didn't come up, but it's very nice to have, because in some scenarios it can come up. Like going second, it sometimes comes up if you draw like 4 Tenyis, for example. But it's mostly needed if you play the water Tenyi, I feel like. Like if you're on a build with that, there's just, it comes up way more often. But I still want to have the flexibility of playing it, since there's so much space in the extra deck. I made like 4 cards out of my extra deck at all times. Like, we also played Draco Berserker, of course, is the 5th Tenyi card. Then I played Crimson Blader. This card didn't come up, but it's nice to have. It's a card that really shits on the Flunder, the Flunder players, the mirror match, the Despia matchup is also very strong against. I just wanted to have it, so if there's a way to, when it comes up, like it's either this or Drakeite, and I felt like this was better in the end, because Drakeite is like the same as Draco Berserker, like you make Drakeite when you can also make Draco Berserker, and I didn't feel like I needed the spell trap negate, so the Crimson Blade just added more power to my extra deck if I ever needed it. So then Baron the Fleur, of course, which I made quite a lot actually, like going second, you just force something, like you just do long one effect, they need to do something, if they don't, you just make Flurry, have a negate and a pop. Which was actually quite good. It performed quite well. So then for the Swordsoul, it's 2 Xixiaos, 1 Shengying, 1 Longwan. This card's fucking nuts. The Pot of Greed effect with my side deck, like I play a bunch of Floodgates, just getting the Moye draw and the Longwan draw, absolutely bonkers. Getting you to see your side deck is actually insanely sick in this deck. Shengying made it like once, didn't really do much at all, but the Xixiaos, yeah, the cards are just sick. And then finally the 4 Yang Zings. Some people cut Xiaofeng. I don't think you need to. I don't think you want to. I think just having Xiaofeng as like an option to play around Nibiru, because right now we're in like a weird spot where Nibiru is not that good, but we're gonna see people still side them because it's like a surprise factor card right now. So post siding, be able to like bait out Nibiru with your standard vessel line, like pressuring Xiaofeng. It's just really sick to at least have an option to play it. You know, like of course if you don't play it, you can still go for that same line and like make them use Nibiru if they have it. But yeah, I felt like Xiaofeng as well with the blackout, like being able to search your Ash or your Ecclesia for follow-up play, it came up quite a lot. And then finally the side deck, which is probably the most weird part of my list. Also, again, yoinked a lot of stuff from Luxury. So we have double DD Crow, triple Lightning Storm. These were basically the only cards I've ever sided in, alongside with this one, with Red Reboot. Going second, these were like the standard 6 cards that went in. Another card that I played was Anti-Magic Arrows. So this is, I think, Hani Yawari's take on the deck. Very strong against Despia, even though I never really sided in versus Despia. I played against, like I see, I played against Despia Thunder Dragon, and on Saturday I played against 3 or 4 Despias, but they were all like Despia variants, and I didn't ever feel like Anti-Magic Arrows was sick. I sided in once versus Despia Eldritch, and then he had Anti-Spell, I think. So yeah, it was like, whatever. I see how it's good in theory, but I might swap this out for Night Beam, since it's just, it adds more value. It also baits like D-barriers and shit, which this can do as well. But it's a weird card, since people now know that Swordsoul can play this. It's got rid of like the surprise factor for it, I guess. So yeah, that's why that reboot is like, it's the out for D-barrier. That's why I always side in going second. Lightning Storm is sick versus basically every deck, and DD Crow just very strong versus DPE, versus Brendan Red, versus Prankits. So I played against 4 Prankits, so DD Crow always came in. And then the final 6 were the Floodgates, so Anti-Spell and Rivalry. I drew this once in a 1-minute game. I never drew it another time, but Anti-Spell, I drew it a couple times, and it was really strong. Against Brave decks, this card absolutely fucks, and Rivalry. I think I drew it against the Eldritch player, the Eldritch Branded player on Saturday, and once I resolved this card, he did like Branded's Fusion summon the Lubellion. Lubellion effect, pitch a card, I chained Rivalry, and he just was forced to, I think he made the Albion, the other dragon, and then he made the Dogmatica dragon. I don't even know the name, but he just was locked into dragon, so all zombie replays were out. His what's the other, Masquerade, is that the name? The Masquerade, the worm one. Like, he just couldn't do much in that sense. So I think like the 6 Floodgates are insane going first, since you can basically always see them, like either in your opening hand or from your draws from Longwan or Moye. So I feel like these cards were absolutely bonkers. Like, I didn't want to play D-Barrier, because if I would ever run into a mirror match, like D-Barrier did nothing, where, of course, it's the same with Rivalry, because that also kind of does nothing in the mirror match. But I didn't want to negate my own cards in certain matchup. Like, it might need some more testing, but I felt like Rivalry was better in most scenarios than D-Barrier, since D-Barrier calling Synchro is always a minus in your deck. But yeah, that's it for the deck file. Hoped you liked it. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch and whatever. And yeah, second place. Felt like quite good. We'll get my prize report later. But yeah, hope to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.